Hey everyone, I'm Jared.
And I'm Chantel.
Welcome to the Poured Out Podcast. Today we're talking about hospitality. All right. So I feel like I need to apologize to anybody that
The one person
cares.
that noticed.
Yeah. We did miss last week. Just finding it hard to fit this in to life.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So
Life has been busy lately.
yeah. Just other priorities, I guess. So we do intend to do an episode every week. That's still the goal.
Yep.
Sometimes it might just not work out.
Yeah, it's not the highest priority on our list of priorities.
No.
Did you know that the word priority actually, when it was originated, it just meant one thing? We don't have a list of priorities. It's just one priority.
That does make sense.
Yeah.
Because if you have multiple, then you don't have any.
Yeah, but now we've changed it. Now we can have hundreds of priorities.
Yeah, wonderful. So we can all be stressed trying to do 100 different things instead of focusing on one.
That's right. Yep.
Nice. So anyway, sorry for missing last week. We will, we'll try to do every week. There may be times when it just doesn't work out because of life, but yeah. Okay. So 2 weeks ago, we challenged ourselves to memorize Psalm 27.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel the same way.
I'm working on it. It's not that I have forgotten or anything. I just find memorizing hard.
Yeah. I kind of feel like I'm in the same kind of situation. I haven't forgotten about it, but I also have not done a very good job in memorizing it. Like I have like 2 verses down pretty good, and then
I've been doing different things. Like I've been writing it down a few different times. I did the thing on my wrist, the first, and then it got my watch, the band all full of pen. But I had like the first letter of each word, and that worked. Like the first 2 verses were good, and the third verse things went downhill a bit, and I'm struggling on verse 4, and it's not a hard verse. So
I'm struggling on verse 3. And also not a hard verse.
No, I don't.
But it's just I haven't spent a ton of time on it either. Like honestly, to just like sit down and memorize, like it's every day try to like read through it and stuff. But I haven't devoted a bunch of time. So maybe that's the problem for me.
A lot of the verses that we learned as kids came with songs. Now I don't think Psalm 27. I mean, it's not a very popular psalm. So I don't know if there's a song, but you have a voice and a guitar. Maybe you should make a song for us.
There is a band that has put out a song for each psalm.
Oh, I was also going to say there's the Streetlights. It's like spoken word poetry is kind of the way they've done it, but it's in a different version that I'm learning. Yeah. So that would be really confusing now to switch versions.
I don't know what version the artist for the songs use, but so anyway, it's a work in progress still. I feel like it's not very likely that I will have it memorized by the end of the month, but I'm working on it. I kind of feel the same way. I also feel like maybe we should have started a little smaller.
What?
It's like the whole idea of making goals and making them achievable, like not that it's not achievable, but you have to like to start a habit, right? You want to start something that's fairly easy to do so that you get,
That sounds good in theory, but like, so you're saying we shouldn't have started with 14 verses.
Yeah.
But we're struggling on verses 3 and 4.
True enough. True.
Can we make it smaller? I mean, we could. But
yeah.
Sometimes I just feel too old to try things in life.
Whatever's already in your head, it's there already. You can't add anything new.
No.
It's just too late now.
Yeah.
So
this is the best it'll ever get. Just downhill from here.
Oh boy, it's not looking good for me then. No, still gonna try.
Yeah.
Definitely need to put more effort into it. I do. So that's where that at. That's where that's at. I guess there was a few people that said they were joining us, so I'm curious to see where we're all at.
Let us know if you're crushing us.
Probably crushing us. But
fair. That's fair.
All right. We haven't done a top 3 in a while.
Oh, yeah.
So we were going to do a top 3 today.
Yes, and I forgot because I was all prepared last week and I forgot about it.
Yes.
I'm going to try to not pick places that you talk about because I think that probably 2 of our places will be similar. So I have backups. So if you want to...
They don't know what the top 3 is yet, so...
Oh. I'm just like
You're right
so excited.
Yeah. Well, this is your topic that you would love to talk about. So we're talking about top 3 travel destinations.
Right.
So
I have more than 3 if I need.
So you want me to start so that
you
can just pick other ones because you have like 85?
Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I don't have that many places.
I don't know how specific you want to get.
Oh, like street.
Oh, well, I have to do some research then.
No, either city or country.
City?
Or country? I don't know. Continent?
Top 7 continents.
Oh, dear.
Okay.
There's a few actually I don't want to go to. Continents.
Well, I guess you could rank them in order.
Okay. We're not doing that.
Okay. I haven't actually thought about this a ton. This isn't something that I think about a lot.
Okay. Good for you.
So I would say I'll go with Normandy in France. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You probably would have able to guess that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I enjoy like history and I enjoy World War II history. And so like the Normandy area has always held a lot of interest to me from just like the D-Day beaches and the different little towns and stuff that were sites of battles and stuff would be really interesting to me to see.
I tried to look up like to plan a trip to go there, but it's so out by itself in France. Like there's nothing around it that we really want to do around there. No, and it's like I don't really want to go to France, but I want to go to Normandy. Yeah. So if I could go to like just a specific area for a couple days just to see the different things. Like there's a few famous towns from battles and stuff that I would like to see. So if teleportation or something was a thing, because then you could just go right there. Well, and it's close. Like if you're in the UK, it's close right there. But why are you assuming we're in the UK? Oh, I'm not. I'm just saying it would be nice if we were, and then we'd be close. There you go. Okay. That's your number 1. Is that like number 3 or is that number 1? It's not. They're not ranked. They just come as they come to my mind. This made me remember one that I'm going to put on my list. Wasn't on my original list. Guernsey. Oh, we could stop in Guernsey on the way. Yeah, I know. It's really close. So it's a little island just off of the coast of France. But I think technically I don't know. Are they their own country or are they part of England? They were. I don't really know how it all works. The UK is very confusing, so I'm not going to guess. I don't know. I think maybe the first time I heard about it was when I was reading the book, The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. And then just so happened while I was reading that book, I got an Instagram message on my homeschool account from somebody that lives there that didn't even know I was reading the book. So that just, it made it really cool. And that's when we were on a trip in Mexico, actually. Random. I really remember that moment. So I would really like to see Guernsey. I don't remember. I thought the population of the whole island was like, no, I'm not even going to say because I don't remember. It's small. Yeah. We'll go with that. That would be interesting. I would go there too. You'd come with me? I mean, there's also, I would go with you if I had to. There's obviously a lot of history there too. So yeah. Yes, because they were occupied during World War II. Okay. Yeah. Back to you. Back to me. See, this is a tough one because I want to say like the UK, but that's way too broad, I feel like. But I don't also know like a specific area because I want to kind of see all kinds of different things in it. Yeah, that's fair. In Britain, I guess, for the most part. Like, so
yeah, I can't like
Oxford.
Yeah, but I'm more interested in like farther back history than Oxford probably. I mean, that would be cool too, but I want to see like old English castles and stuff like that, like from the medieval kind of era. That would be really cool. So I don't know a specific, like there isn't like one specific place, because like you throw a rock there and you hit a castle, it seems like. So
there's a lot of castles or remains.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'll come with you there too.
Okay. Well, I'm surprised. Come with me there and live there for a while.
Yeah. Convenient. Lose our passport or something. Whatever we got to do. Okay, my next one is going to be Croatia.
Ooh. Split.
Yes. Yeah. It's a cool looking city. I think, I also read a book that made me interested in going there. Plus, it was always on the list of the cheap cities to live in, to be like a digital nomad.
Right.
So
cost of living is very cheap.
Yes, and internet is quite good.
Yeah. And it's like it's on the Mediterranean, but it's on the kind of the other side of the Mediterranean, right? Where
well, it depends what is on the other side.
But I mean like the
it's across from Italy.
Yeah, which like, I think that would be the more popular destination,
right, maybe,
touristy destination. Yeah. Well, I think Split is quite touristy as well, probably, but not. I'm guessing it's probably not as much.
Yeah, I hear really good things about Croatia.
Yeah, that it seems like when I hear Croatia, I feel like it's got to be like really cold and like Eastern European, like I don't know.
Thinking like
I'm thinking of different countries when I think of that. I don't think of like on the Mediterranean and like beaches and.
I think there's a 500-year-old monastery that you can stay in through an Airbnb, or it was a monastery, and it's like in the walls of the city or something. So it's got some of that older history.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Okay, I'll stay in the same general area, and
so we just want Europe
again. Yeah, basically. Again, like not like one specific area, but like. Well, kind of. I mean, Rome and like some of the islands around, basically where the Apostle Paul went. I'd like to kind of tour around those journeys and see some of like the like the early church history, like where some of the first early churches were. That'd be really cool. So it's all kind of in like an area, but I just think, again, the history there would be really, really neat to see where the church started. And
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't say one of the ones I thought you were going to say, so I'm going to say it. South Africa.
Yeah, definitely on the list for sure.
It's another place I would like to go back, because I feel like when we adopted Ephraim from there, we were so focused on the adoption portion that we, there was lots that we didn't get to see, or a lot of the history that I didn't really know that I know now. Which also is a little bit scary because I felt quite comfortable in the country. But it turns out we should have been more cautious. When we were there, we shouldn't have been walking around as much as we were. But I did enjoy it, and I'm very excited to go back and show him the country that he's from. Yeah. Because he's excited to see it.
Yeah, that's definitely a trip that we want to do in the coming years. Yeah. It's a hard one to do because it's like so far away from everything where we are.
Yes, it takes a long time to get there.
It takes a long time to get there, yeah. But yeah, like it's a really beautiful country. And it's like thinking about now more on the safety side of things. It's like, that makes me kind of like, do we want to go or not? But yeah, I mean, for just his sake, I think it would be really good to.
I'd be curious
to go.
Curious to see, because we got so many stares of people looking at us, because white people don't have black babies there, so we got a lot of looks when we were there. Would we get that with him as a preteen teen hanging out with us? I'd be very curious.
Yeah, I don't know
how much the country will change in the next few years.
Yeah, and it's another one, like, where would you all want to go? Because we spent most of our time in Durban, but he was born in
a different city. Yeah.
So I feel like we have to go there. That city is also kind of like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, doesn't have a whole lot going on.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. Though. Yep.
Yeah. No, that was definitely in my head as another one to do. So what are your other 85?
No, I think we've touched on the top ones.
So we just say like Europe and South Africa,
yeah.
and we're pretty good.
We're good.
Pretty much good to
go.
I
mean, yes, if we could spend like a month in every European country or something and then just have a home base and travel out of there, I'd be good.
Yeah. That is the struggle. It's like there's like if you think about planning a trip, then there's just so much to see that you feel like you have to spend 3 months there, which isn't really feasible.
No, not quite.
For many reasons. So, but
one day we can see some of those places, maybe. Optimistic.
Yeah. All right. So we're talking about hospitality today. This was your topic that you suggested, so I blame you.
Okay.
No, you were reading a few books or a book, and is it more than one book?
It's mostly the one book. Yes. Holy Huga by Jamie Erickson. It's creating a place for people to gather and the gospel to grow. And was it chapter 1? Yes, chapter 1 jumps in with hospitality. Right away they're quoting Sally Clarkson, so she talks a lot about it too in her stuff.
Yeah.
But first I thought it would make most sense maybe to talk about like what is hospitality, because when we were talking about this topic, we were having different ideas of what hospitality was.
Okay, so what would you define hospitality? What do you mean when you say hospitality?
Well, to me, hospitality is having someone come into your home, and generally implies feeding them. And then as a Christian, there's also not just like inviting someone in your home and feeding them, but there's also like an aspect of love to go along with that, is my thought.
Yeah, I guess I have a more broad definition. But I do think, hospitality, that's a big part of it, is opening your home to others. And then I think just kind of opening your life to others too.
Yeah. You can't open in so many ways you can't open your home without opening your life.
No. And you can't open your life without opening your home.
Maybe.
In many ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like pursuing loving other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think specifically or more people like that you don't know, or generally aren't like it's not just like inviting your best friends over to hang out, or
it's with the purpose of getting to know the people better, whoever they are. Whatever level you're at, kind of bringing them to the next level.
Sure.
Through having them in your home.
Okay. I would agree with that.
Okay. This
for the most part.
Goes back to the podcast episode where we don't argue. We don't.
No, I think I just on a podcast. Yeah. I think it could be expanded, probably. Like hospitality within the church. I think we were talking about like on a Sunday morning gathering, what that looks like to be hospitable as a church.
Yes.
Which I think is probably could be related to that, but that would be another topic probably. So
yeah, I think yes.
Because you're more like that's like welcoming.
Yes.
Not necessarily hospitable.
It is kind of, but I think it's a whole different ball game.
So you're thinking specifically of like having people over and welcoming people into your home /life.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Now we're on the same page.
Sweet. I wrote an outline, but I don't remember what was next. After we kind of defined what it is we're talking about today.
Struggles with hospitality.
Yes, okay, this is where I wanted to share a little bit about this book, because it opened up, like, hospitality does not come easy to me. I'll say it right off the bat. But this showed me that other people have other struggles with it than I have ever really thought of. And now, of course, am I going to be able to find that? Oh, like a lot of people worry about... Well, first of all, the biggest thing is people are worried people are going to say no if they're invited. You know, maybe it's my introvertness, but if someone says no, it's like, yes, free evening. So I'm not, but I guess if it's like someone that you really want to get to know better and you invite them over and they say no, that is discouraging.
Yeah, and it feels like rejection, right?
Yes. And even, am I the only one that thought when we left school we'd get over that fear of rejection? Like, should I still be worried about that fear at this age? But
shouldn't be probably, but still are. I think that's probably pretty normal.
So this just didn't, when I think of my struggles with hospitality or the reasons I don't invite people or why I struggle to invite people, I've never thought of this as one of the reasons. So that was surprising to me that when she polled people, that was the first thing that stopped them from being hospitable, sending that invitation.
Yeah, interesting that, I mean, obviously, people would have different struggles. I feel like that would be a struggle of someone that really likes to have people over all the time. And so then it's like, oh, they're really disappointed if they're... Yeah.
And then the other stuff was like house size, and it requires a lot of work, and that kind of thing was other people's struggles. And my own struggles, I think, kind of stem from like what the idea of hospitality was when I was growing up is different than what I think it is now. So growing up, if we lived in a community where people would invite themselves over, so that is a different thing.
Right, yeah.
People would invite themselves over, and then it was quickly go clean your house, make it spotless, and make some like amazing dessert. And so everyone has this really good impression of you. Right. That's not what hospitality is in our current circle, and thankfully that's not the expectation I have anymore, but I can see why that would make people not want to invite people over if you have that mentality that everything has to be perfect.
Whenever you invite someone over, you're just assuming they're going to judge you based on the cleanliness of your house and the quality of your desserts that you are able to make.
Yes, which is good that we aren't in. I don't feel that anymore, because with gluten-free sometimes the quality is not as easy to make as good.
No.
And then also the idea that depending how you're raised, if you're raised in a family that's very hospitable, that can come very naturally to you then.
If you're used to having people over all the time, or...
I've read a few books by, and we heard him speak, Jeff Vanderstelt. Mm-hmm. Hospitality, he talks about it like it's the easiest thing in the world. But that's how he grew up. He grew up with his parents just, I don't know, having random people sleep in their house all the time. And I didn't. So I feel like he has a leg up in this. Whereas just having someone random stay in my house for a night would
wouldn't sleep.
Would be a bit of a struggle for me, but it's not for him.
Yeah.
So I think everybody's struggles are different. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of factors into why we have those struggles.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for us, or for me especially, I have a hard time, I think being home is very comfortable. And so that's it feels like your comfort zone kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have to fight against that feeling of when people come over, they're invading my space, my comfortable space, and and dealing with stuff getting broken, and grimy hands, and just all the little things that aren't a big deal, but it's very easy to, if you see your home as your own space where you can that's your place of refuge that you go and you just recharge there, and it can be that, but if it's that's all it is to you, then it's really hard to invite people in, because they might have different expectations of what a comfortable home is, or
right.
So I think that's a struggle sometimes for me. It's just a mental having to remind myself that it's not a big deal. It's just a house. It's just a dent in the wall. It's just that kind of thing.
Just a broken toy, or
yes. Well, that was a struggle often with kids when they were younger, and
a lot of tears after people left because
toys get broken and stuff, and it gets hard because you want to teach them that like you do want to respect other people's belongings and stuff, and so we don't want to be like, oh yeah, it's no big deal, because they don't want to teach them that it's okay to go to someone else's house and break toys. But at the same time, when you invite different people that have different expectations of their kids, then you have to be gracious and be kind of okay with being more loose on some things, I guess.
Yeah. And then I found in the last few years probably my biggest struggle is the fact that I am a highly sensitive person and I get stimulation overload very fast. Shopping at Costco is very hard for me because there's so much, my brain is trying to process so much stuff. So I feel like we used to hosting was a lot easier when we were just married and everybody was just couples or singles.
Right.
And then as we're adding in kids, the noise level is rising, and I'm finding it harder to be able to focus and actually like concentrate and pay attention to the people that we're inviting in our home, because my brain is just ping-ponging back and forth.
Yeah. Well, and that's partly just like the sheer numbers too, right?
Yes.
Because, you start having couples with kids over and, everyone has a few kids and all of a sudden you have 40 people in your house.
Yes. And we've
it's
had
just
weeks many weeks when we've had that. And yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. One other thing that I find difficult is just with our food situation.
Yes.
And so I feel like a big part of hospitality, and part that I think I really enjoy, is like, sharing a meal together or something.
Yes.
And I really have a hard time with that, both in like going to places and having people over as well, because we like to, I think it's really beneficial to have those shared meals, but because of our dietary issues, it becomes a real challenge in our house. And so that has always been something, or not always, but for the last 10 years.
Yeah. It's been hard.
A struggle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like you want to be able to enjoy a meal with people.
Yep.
And so, and often what we would do is do like, a potluck type thing, right? But then, there's, I don't know. It seems silly to people, but.
Well, I really want to do an episode in the future about like dealing with chronic illness and stuff. But, and I think it could seem kind of silly to people, but for me, when I think about like how easily you can get sick from like cross contamination, then I think back to the year and a half when you would go to work most days, but other than that, you just laid in bed. And so it's hard to think about having meals and you getting sick, and then like that all comes back to me.
Yeah. And it's, it's something I wish I could just like, oh, well, you'll just power through it. But it ends up being like, when I get sick with that, then I can't really do a whole lot of other things. And so then it's
it takes you out for a few days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that has definitely been like a struggle in trying to figure out like, how do we be hospital, like, and we can make all the food sometimes. We've done that before. But I think people also, they like to bring things, which is good. And
it's good for like a community. When thinking about like a community thing, it's good for people to be able to contribute.
Yeah. But so I mean that's something that we can probably,
we've talked about a lot, different ways to try to.
Yeah. And we have done some things, and maybe we'll talk about that later on how we can make it work.
Okay, what was my next outline point here? I should have.
Those are all your struggles?
Oh,
there's a bug in my cup.
We're not going to talk about all my struggles. It is, does your food intolerance count bugs?
No. I don't think they contain
protein.
Any gluten.
You like protein.
True.
So, drink your bug.
I'm good actually.
Okay, what was next on my list?
Yeah, so why is hospitality important?
Well, I was just reading it. We're commanded biblically to show hospitality to one another. This is in Peter 4 verse 9, without grumbling.
Yeah. That can be hard. I feel like we have definitely had times where I don't even know if you would call it hospitality if you're complaining about it, but
no, probably
not. But there's definitely been times that, we've, hosted for a long time or something and just really struggled with it and did complain.
Yeah.
And I really don't want that to be
no.
Like, I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so much of that is just getting over my own issues with stuff.
Yeah, and there's just been seasons that have been harder than others
for sure,
for hospitality.
Yeah, and I think it's like really a perspective thing, right, when it comes to hospitality, because it's like, because a lot of my struggles have been around like, the house and stuff and like things getting wrecked, but then it's like, well, what is my house for? What is my home for? And it goes back to do I just see my home as like a place where I can hide from everybody, or is it a place that can be used to glorify God by like bringing people in and being loving, being hospitable? It's not an easy thing, but it's definitely like, if I go into it with that mindset, it becomes a lot easier to enjoy having people over, even if it's a chaotic time.
Yeah.
So definitely we should do it because we've been commanded to. And I think it's like, we want to show the love that we've been shown.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Okay. You can say it.
No, it's fine. You said it already. It's out there.
Right. I did, I guess.
Yeah. And I know that there have been times where you can feel that love when you go to other people's houses and you can feel them being hospitable. And it's like, that's what I want people to feel when they come over.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just harder to live out, which makes sense.
Usually is. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've been showed love by Christ, even though we make a mess of things and, are a disaster.
Yep.
And yet he still loves us. And so I think, continually reminding yourself of that is helpful. I think remembering like what you were talking about before, that the house, things don't have to be perfect, is helpful as well, right? Yep. Because like, it just changes the expectations. It takes away some of the stress of like, how clean your house is, and like, I feel like our house is generally, it's pretty clean. It's not like we live in like a disaster zone or something.
Well, I am painting the entrance right now, so it is a bit of a disaster zone. Yeah, you want to like a balance between clean so people aren't grossed out, but not so neat that people are uncomfortable and don't feel like they can sit down. Yes.
Yeah, because if it's too clean, if it's too like perfect, then people don't, I think, feel comfortable. Well, certain people might, but for the most part, people don't feel like they can't touch or sit on anything because it's all just like perfectly presented. But at the same time, if it's just, there's just like stuff everywhere and you can't actually even sit down or, like, so there, somewhere in between there's a balance of it just feeling like a comfortable place to be, just like you would go, like, just like your own home, really. Mm-hmm. Like your own home, generally, like, it's, you want to keep it clean-ish, but not have everything put away. It's like, what's the Strange Planet comic?
But the bins where we put things in. Oh yeah,
we have things but we've hidden them or something like that. It's like they're greeting people at the door and they're like people that are commenting about how
it's a good one,
neat their house is, and we own things but we've hidden them. And that's kind of how it felt, probably, like in our culture growing up, of like put all the things away, have it all spotless and perfect, and Yeah. So what are some things that we can do differently? Because we do both struggle with this. Like, it's something that we don't have like a natural bent towards, I would say, but that isn't an excuse not to be hospitable. Mm-hmm. And so in your holy, whatever word that is, that actually isn't a word. Oh, I almost drank my bug water again.
I don't know. I don't feel like there was a whole lot of practical. A lot of it is just practice.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, yeah, you can tell yourself, yeah, I need to get over this, but without actually having people over and working on it.
Yeah. Because it's a heart thing, right? Like, it's not.
Yeah.
Because if you're just like doing practical things, like, sure, there's probably practical things to make it maybe easier or something, but if you're just focusing on doing practical things, then you're not really being hospitable. You're just trying to like make it easier on yourself, maybe.
Yeah. Well, like, and she said, like, you know, if you're having people over for a meal, just have a go-to. You know, you could have 5 different people and you could serve them the same thing, like they're coming different nights or whatever. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. You can have a favorite recipe that you have. Or
so going back to that, like, it doesn't have to be a fancy dessert that nobody's had before and everyone's amazed at how amazing of a cook you are. Like, that's not the goal, right? It's
and she did talk about a hospitality budget too, which I don't know if I've really ever heard anyone else talk about, but it's something that we started years ago.
Yeah, which has actually been really helpful, because then when stuff comes up like that, it's like, oh, well, we have money specifically set aside for you know, buying a meal or like hosting a bunch of people and paying for all the food kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, I need to practice, make sure my heart's in the right place, and like, I just need to get over my own issues, I feel like, for the most part. And then the food aspect, I don't know, we are constantly talking about different ways to get over that.
Yeah. The big thing, like, I love the idea of having like a barbecue and you just like make hot dogs and hamburgers and stuff. The problem with gluten-free stuff is that it's so expensive.
Yeah. Well, and often, like, when you're talking about hot dog or hamburger buns, you don't really want to serve those to gluteners because they're not really going to want to eat your gluten-free buns.
Yeah.
Even
that's one thing that has not.
They're more expensive and they're not as good.
Yeah, they're like $1.50 a bun and taste like they were like a week old.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not used to that, like.
Mm-hmm. It's better than what it used to be.
Yeah. But even for me, like, there's some brands, like, I'll try one. It's like, this is awful. Like, and there's like, I paid like $6 for 4 buns and they taste bad.
You haven't had gluten in 10 years.
Waffle fry buns.
Oh yeah,
that's potential.
That's a project for the summer.
Yeah. And yeah, so it's
expensive and people don't want to eat it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like there are ways around this, and we probably just need to be
if
more
you guys have
creative
ideas for us.
Yeah, I'd love to hear ideas.
And like, you've taken your own meal places, but the rest of us also have lesser food sensitivities that we can work around too. But it's not even just you. So
yeah. No, the food thing is definitely a struggle, and I'm curious for other people that have food issues. It's unfortunate because I feel like I was always a really picky eater.
Yeah.
And then like the few years before I was diagnosed with celiac, I was starting to be a lot more adventurous. And so like I used to dread going to people's houses because it's like, oh, I don't want to eat their food because they're going to have whatever, like green peppers in it or something. Yeah. And now I really like all that food. And so but now I can't eat it because well, we'll talk about those kind of issues in a later episode, I think.
I think it would be interesting to talk about chronic illness since we were diagnosed with a few within a few years. So yeah, but as far as like having people at our house, I think there are ways that we could get around those things. I think we just need to be more creative, and probably
because it's sometimes a struggle for us, then maybe it's easy to just give up and say, oh, it just doesn't work because it's too hard. But
probably.
So I think there's probably a bit of an aspect of that for myself going on, but yeah, you're right. It's like, it's really just a heart issue, I think, for the most part. And so sometimes I feel like we do pretty well, and sometimes the heart's definitely not in it, which is something we need to work on for sure. But yeah, if people have suggestions on
curious
how they, host people and what their go-to suppers are, and just, I don't know, how that all works in your lives. I'm curious to see what other people do.
Yep. Sounds good.
It's definitely...
I'm also curious.
Yeah. It's definitely something we need to work on.
Well, yeah, and we have been working on it.
Oh, for sure.
It's just going to be a continual thing.
Like most things in life, it's something, you hopefully continue to grow in things and not fall back, but yeah, it is important. Like, I definitely see the value just in building that community. I mean, we've seen that in our church, how community has formed pretty quickly with a bunch of people that didn't know each other for the most part, and it's really neat to see. And I think part of that is because of the focus on those like community building aspects of having, like, we've been in someone else's house in the church or had them over pretty much every week for 7 years.
Yep. 8 years.
8 years.
Yep.
And like, I think if that wasn't the case, it's very easy to just kind of fall through the cracks, or like be like a church attender, but not part of the church, because the church isn't the gathering or the building, it's the people. And so I think that's where community becomes so important, and it's a way to get to know people in the church, and also to then invite people from outside the church into that community as well, because sometimes they're more comfortable being part of that, weekly, hangout session than they might be coming to a church gathering at the beginning. So okay, well, thanks for joining us. Like you said, if you got any hospitality tips,
tips and tricks,
also speaking tips are also welcome.
Yep.
But I think that's it for us for today. So
sounds good.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk at you again
in a week.